Real quick, I just wanted to share with you that From Scratch is an independent podcast that is not backed by any investors. If you do enjoy these types of inspirational stories and would like to support the podcast, I will leave a donation link somewhere above or below this video where you can make your donations discreetly and safely. If, on the other hand, you have a business and would like to advertise during one of the episodes, I have three types of sponsorship packages that basically fit any type of budget for your business. Any financial contribution is highly appreciated, and I cannot thank you enough for your continued support. But you don't have to donate in order to support the podcast. All you have to do is just simply subscribe and share it with your community so that these meaningful stories will reach a wider audience. Thank you for listening. Now let's go back to the episode. Welcome to From Scratch, the show where our guests share their journeys of success and failures. My name is Gjoko. I'll be your host, and today with me I have Necole. Now, if these stories are something that are of your interest, make sure that you hit the subscribe button and share them with somebody to inspire their day as well. Now, Necole, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
It's such a pleasure to have you, first of all.
My niece Shania
Yes.
nominated me to be on your show.
Yes.
And I'm like, I think I talked to you before. But I'm glad that you reached out again so that
Absolutely.
we can do this. So I'm honored. Thank you.
Let me start off. So, what is something that puts a smile on your face?
My family. I am a lover of family. I am a mom of three. I have two adult children, two granddaughters. My son's married. He has two children and his wife, right? And then I have my oldest daughter, who's an amazing young lady. She's finding her way in life. And then I have a 17-year-old. Well, my oldest daughter is 27, and my youngest is 17.
Can you briefly tell me what exactly you do now, like in short sentence or two, and then later we'll dive deeper into your daily, so to say, responsibilities.
Yeah, so I own Strategic HR Development. It's an HR consulting firm servicing small to mid-sized businesses, and we take a different perspective on HR. We actually bring the human to human resources, and we follow a business throughout their journey, whether they're a startup-ready company looking to hire their first employee, thinking about building their culture and putting in policies and procedures, handbooks, and things of that nature. And when I talk to my clients, I ask them, what was your end in mind when you started to build this business? And some have an end in mind, some don't. If they don't, we think about what that is at this stage of the game. And then we take that and we start working backwards to build them to get to that end in mind so that if they decide to sell their business, that they can get a higher valuation for that business.
That plays a pretty crucial role in pretty much any business, right?
Yes, yes.
Let's go back in time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll go back in your younger days when you were a little girl, high school days. I want you to talk to me about your family, about some high school days that stood out, some good
Sure.
days, some bad days.
Yeah.
Take me back.
At my 8-year-old self, I remember doing a project in school, and they were asking, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I always knew I wanted to be a businesswoman,
Okay.
but I didn't know what that looked like, right? So I just left it at that. Business is so broad that I just knew that's what I wanted to do. And I used to, have a little box that I would make into a briefcase, and I would have a purse,
Yeah,
and I
that's
would walk
cute.
around the house like I'm going to be a businesswoman when I grew up.
And you
So
said that's at 8?
at 8, that was my
Oh my
8-year-old,
goodness.
my 8-year-old self.
Wow.
And then as we go into high school was a bit challenging for me because we moved here from Maywood to Lockport
Okay.
at age 15. So I started a new high school, new friends, and I was naturally a kind of shy, shy person rather. And so I didn't really make a lot of friends, and it's kind of hard when you're at that age and friends are already formulated. And I just went through high school kind of as a lone star, right? Just kind of shy. And,
Mm-hmm.
I met a couple of friends here and there, but no long lasting friends.
Right.
Because, like I said, when you come into a new community, you have to establish yourself.
True.
And me being shy, I didn't do too well at that.
Entrepreneurs tend to be introverts,
Yes.
right? And people that kind of prefer to stay to themselves.
Yeah, yeah.
So that is not it's not an uncommon trait, so to say,
Yeah.
personality when it comes to being an entrepreneur. So,
Yeah.
at 8 years old, businesswoman, how did that come about? Like you must have seen something from somewhere, like somewhere somebody must have given you an inspiration, like, and you're like, I want to be like that person.
You know what? I really don't know where it came from.
Okay,
Maybe it was something inside me. I really don't know, but I always knew I wanted to do that. And I remember
interesting.
watching, there was a show back then. I can't remember the name of the show, but I used to watch her, and she was the lady, the star of the show. She was I think it was a news broadcaster,
Okay,
and so she was the only female in a male-dominated world. So maybe that kind of gave me an interest
interesting.
in that. And as I grew up through HR, I was primarily the only female in a male-dominated world, being in corporate.
That is true.
So I kind of took on that, and then I decided to. Some people call it a corporate dropout, but I call it. I graduated from corporate and into entrepreneurship.
Tell me, give me a good day in high school, a good day when you were younger, something that sticks in your memory.
So, good day in high school. Believe it or not, I was a track runner. So,
Okay.
I ran 100 relay, and I could tell you a story about
Yes,
that. I was a
please.
freshman,
Uh-huh.
and I went to Lockport High School, and we were at a track meet. So, I was kind of a nerd. So, I went to all the track meets as a freshman. And one particular track meet, we were playing. We were running against Bloom Trail, I think is the name of the high school, and one of our runners got hurt. And my coach came into the audience and said, Matlock, you're running. And I'm like, no, I'm not. These girls are these girls are fast. They're seniors. I'm not. I'm
Same
not.
age group though, right?
No, I was a freshman. They were seniors.
Oh,
So
okay.
it was varsity. So I said, I'm not running against, and I said, I'm not even dressed. I don't have a uniform. So she grabbed someone else and kind of switched out their uniform. And she goes, what size shoe are you? And I told her, she's like, oh, same size as me. So she gave me her shoes, and I ran the relay, and I ran the last leg. And that's usually for the fastest runner on the last leg. And I was terrified
Oh
because
my
these
goodness.
girls they were strong. I was tiny and wimpy and just kind of scared. And I was like, I don't want to run this, but I guess take one for the team, even though this wasn't my team. So I got on the field and I said, okay, I'm going to do the best that I can. And I said, what's going to make me run faster is I'm going to envision a pit bull chasing me. And that's what I did. So, and when
That
I
is.
when I felt that baton hit my hand, I pulled it out of her hand, and I
Oh
ran
my.
so hard, so fast, and thought in my mind that a pit bull was chasing me, and I took second. And I landed on
Wow.
varsity from that day forward.
Wow.
Yeah.
Second. That's an achievement by itself.
Yeah, it was through fear, but hey, you got to do it scared. That's kind of my motto. If you're scared, do it scared.
Definitely a moment to be, proud of yourself.
Yeah.
Talk to me about your family.
I'm a mom of three.
Yes.
My son is 31. He's married with two children. He blessed me with two beautiful
God
grandchildren.
bless.
Bailey is the oldest grandchild. She just turned 9 yesterday. And then
Congratulations.
her,
Happy
thank
birthday.
you. And then her sister Nori, she's my other granddaughter. She will be 2 December 23rd. So that's my son's family. And they just
Okay.
purchased their first home. So I'm so
So,
proud of them.
so nice. Good job.
Yeah. And then I have my oldest daughter. She is 26. She'll be 27 soon, next month actually. And she's finding her way. She has an amazing job, and she kind of travels, so she's with me part time.
Nice.
And I'm very proud of her as well. And then I have my youngest. She's 17. She's a senior at Plainfield North, and she's a volleyball enthusiast. She plays
Interesting.
volleyball all the way around, and I'm very proud of her. She's an honor student. She's finding her way and finding her space in life, and
Nice.
looking forward to moving on to college. So that's my family dynamic.
That they've got their whole life ahead of them.
Mom and dad, we basically grew up. They basically raised us in Maywood. I'm one of four.
Okay.
I have an older brother, Glenn, and then my older sister, Yvonne, and then it's me. I'm in the middle, and then my youngest sister, Kimberly.
Wow.
So that's our family dynamic. We come from humble beginnings, right? But we've all found our way in life, and we went in different directions, and we're all doing well. We still have a very solid relationship today, and just back then we were just like loving, fun jokesters as children. And now we're the same, but just as adults.
As
And
adults,
and we
right.
actually live very close in proximity
Okay.
together. So, and we try to spend as much time as we can. My mom is still alive. I have two dads. My stepdad and my biological father have both passed away.
I'm
And
sorry to hear that.
thank you. But it's I would say it's a good framing of life and the character that they built in us, and making sure that we were successful, and that we had everything we needed. Maybe we didn't have everything we wanted, but
Hmm.
we definitely had everything we needed. And they just built character and helped us, establish our work ethic by, we had chores at home. Back in the day, it was like you couldn't go outside and play unless your chores were done. So we got up early in the morning, got our chores done so we can be outside playing all day. So, and I think that plays a part in who we are today. We get things done, and then we work hard, but we play harder.
You did mention the passing of your dad and your stepdad
Hmm.
and the lessons they instilled, they taught you.
Yeah.
Can you share some specific lessons that you learned from them?
Yeah. So for my stepdad, never give up, always fight, stay in the fight, and push until you get there. And from my dad is just, don't allow people to shrink you. Know your value and stand in that. So with those two perspectives, they helped kind of shape who I am today, and even being in, taking the journey through corporate America, even going through college,
Hmm.
being the first of my siblings to actually finish college.
Wow.
And it was a scary journey, and not really having any like influences
Hmm.
to know what college looked like, and that perspective, but really going through it. And I had those two men in my life to say, stay in the game, keep pushing, no matter how hard it looks or how hard it feels. It gets better. It only gets better in time. It's just a period of time that you'll be in, and this shall pass. And my biological dad told me when I was contemplating college, he goes, guess what? It's 4 years. So 4 years are going to go by regardless to what you do. 4 years will pass and you'll be in the same position you're in now, or 4 years will pass and you'll be in a better position you're in now. So decide which road you want to travel. I was married with a child when I first went to college, and if you can imagine that being very very challenging, being young, being married, having a child, working full time, and going to school full time. It was challenging and stressful all at the same time. And I don't know where I got the energy from to do it, but I just had those voices in my ear to say, keep pushing, and make a better life for yourself and for your family. Not only did I make those 4 years, I went additional to get my master's degree.
Wow. That is amazing.
Thank you.
Now, you said humble beginnings. I think humble beginnings is a subjective term
Yeah.
and it means different things to different people.
Hmm.
Can you share with me what type of humble beginnings you mean?
Yeah, so for us, like we've always lived in a home. We always had that. Our parents always made sure of that. But we didn't have like the fancy things our friends had. We just had the basic necessities. We had clothes on our backs. We had food on the table in the refrigerator. And, we had what we needed. Like we didn't take family vacations. We didn't really understand what that was, other than going to Mississippi every Sunday because that's where my stepfather was from. And that was our family vacation, that road trip. So going to Disney World, and like other people talk about, going on cruises and going on an airplane. I didn't go on an airplane until I was 30. Was my
Wow.
first flight. So I looked at people who talked about having, like, their parents drove fancy cars. Like we had a station wagon. The one with the paneling on the
Uh huh.
side.
Hmm.
So it was that for us, and we didn't eat out for dinner. My mom cooked. In fact, my mom, like, I always wanted, like, to go to the store and buy a pack of cookies. And my mom was the type of person, like, what kind of cookies you want? Oh, chocolate chip? Oh, I can make that. And like, say, can we order pizza? Oh, I can make that.
Hmm.
So my mom was like, she had the attitude that I can make everything. And what I didn't realize is we were healthier because she made everything,
Hmm.
right? But what I felt like I was missing out on is the opportunity to go and sit down at a restaurant and enjoy a meal as a family. We never did that because we couldn't afford it. Like anything, like going to college, like my parents couldn't afford to send me to college. So it was like, you've got to figure it out. That's why I said I didn't think it was in the cards for me. And with there being four of us, we didn't get a chance to do a lot of things through through high school and things like that, like with me playing sports, my parents never showed up because they were always working, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I had to have those experiences alone. And so whereas other parents were always there, and my parents were working, and I appreciated that because they needed to work to make sure we had the
Right.
basic needs. And if they didn't and made that sacrifice to see me, we may have not been able to have lights on, or it may have been the difference in not being able to pay a mortgage. So that's what I mean. Like it was very tight. My parents lived
Absolutely.
paycheck to paycheck.
That makes you appreciate when you actually make something of yourself, and
Hmm.
when you, like you said, like eating out at restaurants. It makes you appreciate it when you do get the chance to go out and eat at the restaurant.
Yes,
You're like, I can afford this,
exactly. Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So the bad things teach us valuable lessons, right?
yeah.
The bad days.
Hmm.
Talk to me about a bad day you had back in your childhood.
I will say when I moved from Maywood to Lockport,
Okay.
like that was a very dark period in my life because it was a cultural shift for me.
Interesting.
I came from more of a diverse environment to a predominantly all white environment, and not really
Diverse meaning Mexican,
like
white,
everybody,
black,
yeah,
everything,
like
right?
all ethnicities,
Okay.
right? Then Lockport being predominantly white and really not having a space to fit in. And so it was like, which is one of the reasons why I really didn't have any friends, because it was, it was said that I was too white for the black people and too black for the white people. So
Holy
you kind
smokes.
of fit in this middle
Interesting.
because there is a difference in like the way we were coming from Maywood, and the difference between where other people are.
Okay.
So it's just one of those things, like you're just ostracized for being who you are, but you don't know any other person to be other than who you
Right.
are. So I just kind of isolated myself through high school, and not really having a lot of friends, and not really being able to relate to anyone. And then you're leaving the base that you knew and your friendships that you knew, and then trying to find friends or find comfort in your new environment. It was kind of challenging, and it was at a time where in the 80s, where when I would talk to like white friends, they would tell me that they couldn't even watch the Cosby Show because their parents didn't allow it, and they couldn't have black friends. And I was like, wow, just don't understand those
Wow.
words right now, because where we came from, everyone was friendly.
Yeah.
Everyone, there wasn't a black or white thing. It was just, we were just people. We were just friendly. We grew up together. We hung out together. We did things together. And yeah, we knew that there were difference in the colors of our skin, but it wasn't as predominant when you go to a predominantly all white school,
Oh, wow.
and being someone new. So that was a pretty tough time for me.
It made people uncomfortable around you, or like what was.
I don't know if they were uncomfortable around me, but
I
I
mean,
was
obviously you were also
I
uncomfortable.
was
That
uncomfortable in the
that is
space for
that is
sure.
yeah, that is a given, but
Yeah.
like
So I think it was more of like their upbringing.
okay.
It could be at that, just in that time frame where the world is the world, right?
Mhm.
And people are different, and I
Mhm.
think that's what makes the world great.
Mhm.
Just different levels of cultural backgrounds, and
Couldn't agree more.
being enriched in it, and wanting to learn. Like me, I'm a diversity person. I want to know culture. As a person from a different country, I want to know what your world look like. And when I go to other countries, I don't want to go to the touristy areas. I want to go to
The
the
locals.
locals. Like
Yes.
for example, when I was in Italy, like I went to the grocery store because I want to see what type of food they ate.
Mhm.
And I wanted to go into their neighborhoods. When I went to Dubai, same thing. I needed to go to the grocery store. I want to see what your fruits and vegetables look like. I want to see what your produce, everything looks like, because I want to be able to take something back. And that's what makes me a richer person, because
Absolutely.
I have different experiences, and then I'm able to relate to different people
Mhm.
based on their culture, and not see things from my point of view, because the world is full of different perspectives. It helps build character and
Absolutely.
help us more to become more relatable to others, and not to think, I eat this kind of food, so you should eat this kind of food, or I talk this way, so you should talk this way. No, let's understand how you talk. And if you have a different language and I need to understand how to communicate in your language, I'm willing to do that. I start with, how do I say hello in your language? For example, my neighbor doesn't speak English. So I try to communicate with her in her language. I keep asking her every day.
Where's she from?
She's from India.
Okay.
So I ask her every day, how do you say hello in your language? I never remember, but at least she
Yeah.
understands that there's a safe space for her, because I don't want anyone to feel like I felt. It's different coming from another country versus coming from another community. But I still say it plays the same in everyone's mind because it's new to you, and do you feel like you're in a safe space, and do you feel comfortable? It's about finding your people,
Yes.
finding your space, finding your
Yes.
room in the world
Yes.
of people. And I think if we all did that, and we all just relate to people from that human perspective, it will be a better place for all of us.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more on that.
Yeah.
You did mention that you wanted to become a businesswoman. And
Yes.
what did you go to college for?
I went to college for business.
Business.
My undergrad
Uh-huh.
degree is organizational applied management, which is a fancy name for a business degree.
Okay.
And then I have the master's in business administration.
Look at you following up on your dreams.
Yes. Yes.
From 8-year-old Nicole, I want to be a businesswoman, to, at what age did you get your degrees?
So I remember 38 was my undergrad. I finally finished. It took a long road to get to there, and then at 41, I think I finished my MBA.
Did you have any other dreams besides being a businesswoman? Like, throughout life, as things happened and progressed, you moved from Maywood to here. Did that spark any other dreams, aspirations that you had at the time, or you were pretty, kind of like in your world at that moment in time?
I would have to say it stayed consistent from 8 to now. I've always
Interesting.
wanted to be a businesswoman. Now, what that meant as a businesswoman, that kind of shaped and took different roads to get here.
What was the defining moment where you were like, you know what, I'm gonna take the leap of faith. I'm gonna go to college.
I was married at the time, and I had my son, who was 2 years old, and I was making probably about 18,000 a year, 16,000 a year,
Oh my goodness.
and that was no money.
No.
And I'm like, you know what? This can't be my life. It just can't be. So that was the defining moment where I said something has to be different. I don't want to go down the same path my parents went down. So I wanted to do something different, and I just took a deeper dive in myself and connected with that 8-year-old person in my life, and said, this is my chance to move forward. So at 22, 23, I was back in college.
You must have done your research, maybe how to get a scholarship, how to cover tuition, living expenses, all of that. How did you navigate through that?
Yeah, I did a lot of research. I found grants, I found loans to go through college. Being a young mom and the challenges around that, I couldn't afford not to work, so I was an employee by day and a business student by night.
What did you work?
I was working at an insurance company, a large
Okay.
insurance company, and I was working in the workers' compensation area. So
Okay.
when workers' comp claims came through, I was doing the processing of those. Yeah, so fast forward to go into college, and I would say my first journey through college, I didn't make it.
Your first journey, you mean?
Through college, yeah, because I went to college twice. So
Right.
the first journey when I was 22, I actually flunked out of college.
Okay.
And I remember being in class one night, and the advisor came to take me out of class and said that your grades aren't conducive to our school, so we're going to ask you to leave. And I had to leave that night. And I was like, wait, what? Like, what? And then
Out of the blue? Like,
yeah, because it was overwhelming. Like going to, being a mom, being a wife, working full time, and I was going to school full time. So something had to
At
give, right?
22, right?
Yeah, at
Yeah.
22.
Wow.
So grew up fast, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was my first opportunity to go through college, and then after flunking out that first year, and I was like, well, maybe this isn't in the cards for me. So fast forward, kid number two, my my daughter was 9 months old, and I was still working at that job, and I was on my way home, and I ended up, I don't know how it happened, but I ended up at the University of St. Francis,
Okay.
and I went in, applied for school, and then sat in my car and like, oh my God, what did I just do?
Like
And
you couldn't believe that you
no,
reapplied,
yeah, I didn't talk to
basically.
anybody. I didn't talk to my husband. I didn't talk to anybody. I
Really?
just, I just had this burning desire that I
Where did
am
it come
smart.
from?
Just that inner movement, that inner spirit that drives you on the inside. That something just says you are more than where you are today, and you have to keep thriving and keep pushing. And one failure and one no doesn't define who you are, and it doesn't define your future.
True.
So I just decided to make the change, and I did it differently this time. I didn't go to school full time. I went to school part time.
Okay.
So it took me a few years to get through that first degree.
Full time was just proved to be too much. Is that
hmm
why you decided to do part time this time?
I can be a little ambitious at times,
Okay.
all of them, all the time. So I thought I could do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, after talking to my dad, my biological, and I said, what would be the best approach? And
Mm-hmm.
he said, why don't you take it part time and then keep adding as you see, you have the bandwidth to take on more. And that's what I did. And I took it day by day, class by class, semester by
Interesting.
semester. And that's how I was able to complete.
You probably didn't really know exactly what you were doing, right? Like you were figuring it out as you went,
Yeah, I was building the plane
basically.
while flying.
Can you give me some specific examples of situation that you needed to overcome, and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, I had to overcome me, right? I had to
Interesting.
realize that I'm not Superwoman. I can't do all of these things at the same time, but I am able to do all of the things. And just putting together a plan. And when I was going through college, I built a spreadsheet, and I had all my classes listed in the spreadsheet. And after end of each semester, I would put a check mark in the box and then put in my grade. And then I would say, okay, 3 down, 8 more to go, or
Wow.
4 down, 7 more to go. And I looked at it in phases of life instead of the big picture, because when you look at the big picture, you can get overwhelmed and you're like, well, I got to get through this, and I need to do it quickly. Like my dad would always say, slow and steady will get you to the finish line. And that was what I did, slow and steady.
Oftentimes, we are the obstacles for ourselves.
hmm
Where was your family while you were doing and, making all these decisions by yourself? Did you
So
have the support of your family, your husband? How did your husband react when you decided I'm gonna go back to school?
well, he was not happy at all. So I did not have the support of him at the time, and because a lot of things fell on him, and he didn't see the value in it at the time. So I said, well, this is what I want, and this is what I'm going to do. This not only benefits me, it benefits us, and leaving legacy for our children.
Hmm.
So unfortunately, that marriage didn't work out, but I still persevered through it all.
You have to push through. That's all you gotta do.
hmm
What did one of those middle days look like when you were in school? You have 2 kids. The marriage, you said it didn't work out afterwards, or was it during that time when everything kind of like started falling apart?
Yeah, it was during that time when things started to fall apart because I was left on my own to still be a mom and do all the things,
Oh
right?
boy, yeah.
So for my kids, they were young, and I played a game with them. When I had to do my homework, there was a room that I would go in, and I was like, okay, when mommy's in here, we need quiet time. So I need to read, and I need you guys to read. Even though my youngest wasn't able to read at the time, but I just gave her a book, and she would just go through the book, and then my oldest, my son, would tell would read to her and say, well, we have to be quiet because mommy's reading. So whenever I would
Wow.
go in that room, they knew to just kind of allow me to be what I needed to be at that time, which was
Hmm.
a student.
Did you have that urge again to just say, you know what, maybe college is not for me?
Yeah, every day, every day, because it was difficult. Going through, that, and being a mom. In fact, I did quit for a while, as I was going through, when the marriage didn't work. I was going through a divorce, so I said I needed to take time and focus on me, and I did quit college, and I had only 6 classes left before I finished my bachelor's, and I took off for 5 years just to kind of get myself together and figure things out for my life and my children. And after that, I did go back. And I went back
You,
in just enough time, because when I reached out to the school, they said, oh, yeah, Nicole, I'm glad you called, because if you had called 2 months later,
you would have
because,
lost the credits or something?
yeah, because the degree program was being eliminated. So I called
Wow.
in just a nick of time to finish that degree, and then I did that. So I
Wow.
was determined
You
to
were.
finish. And so just to kind of wrap this around full circle, so at that time we're divorced, and I am now going into another marriage, and I have another child. I'm pregnant while going through
Wow.
school. I had complications in my pregnancy. I remember being in the hospital on Thursday, and I was back in class on Friday.
Nicole.
Because, no, back in class on Monday. I'm sorry, it was a Monday. I
Right,
took the
right, right,
weekend.
right.
Yeah, because I
Wow.
refused to quit. This was something that I needed to accomplish. It was something that I had to do. So I literally went through the process and finished school. And when I still, after having her, I took her to school in a stroller, and I set her next
Wow.
to me because I didn't have a sitter. My husband number two at the time was working. So I took her and to school with me, and
Wow.
and then I finished that degree, and then went right back and finished a master's degree. And I remember nursing her, studying. So it was to the point that this was my last chance to accomplish what I needed to accomplish, and I was going to do it.
What was the fuel that gave you hope?
Go back a few years. I was working as I think I was database marketing,
Okay.
and I was working for a gaming company. And at the time, the gaming company wasn't allowed to get a license in Illinois,
Okay.
right? So the owner came to my desk one day and said, "I need you to head up HR." And I'm like, "I know nothing about HR." He was like, "Are you telling me no?" I said, "No, no, no. I'm not. I'm not saying no." And then he said, "Well, okay. Let me know. Go to school. Let me know what you need, and I'll pay for it." So he ended up paying for my undergrad, and
Wow.
that was in 2000, and that's really how I got my start in HR. So I always tell people, ask me, how did I end up in HR, or why did I pick HR? And I was like, I didn't pick HR. HR picked me.
Wow.
With him having belief in me, out of all the people that was in the corporate company at the time,
Mm-hmm.
he chose me. And I said, if he saw
Have you
something in
asked
me,
him why me?
I did. And I asked him, why did he pick me? He said, because I knew you had it in you. And I was thinking, I'm just a young, shy person.
And
Like,
at that point, you had only two,
at that point, I had only two
right? So
children.
yeah, that was before the second time you went back and.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And that was during the
Right.
first marriage. So I think I was probably in my mid to late 20s.
Right. Right. Right.
So, and I started HR in 2000 with no experience and no knowledge, and just
Is that
learning
also
as I
why you
go.
chose business administration for your undergrad and then later for your master's?
Well, one of the reasons I was fulfilling an 8-year-old dream,
Okay.
right? And then the other one is I needed to, if I was going to do HR, I needed to understand the business and not just the people side of it. I needed to know the finances. I needed to know IT, like everything. I wanted to know how a business operates. Before I can put people and establish people in a business, I really needed to understand the operating processes of a business, which is why I chose to get a business
Interesting.
degree and not a human resources degree.
What kind of lesson did you learn from there?
The sky is the limit. You can do and teach yourself anything. because as going through HR, I didn't have any mentors. I didn't have any formal education in HR, but I did decide that I was going to learn everything that I could about HR and grow with it. So I started as an HR supervisor,
Mm-hmm.
and I literally grew up through HR. I went through the rankings from there.
Wow.
I didn't get like an HR manager role, or I wasn't, I didn't start at the top. I started at the bottom, and I wanted to learn every aspect of HR and grow in that area so that when I got to the top, that I was able to relate and identify with the pressures and the concerns of my team.
Between opening doors of your business and masters, fast
What
forward
that look
kind of like
like?
highlights of what happened in here that led to you opening your business.
Oh, absolutely. In developing myself, because it's important to me to develop myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to really understand what HR is. So I took a few jobs in different industries, right?
What industries?
So I worked in technology, I
Okay.
worked in healthcare, gaming, education, and manufacturing.
Wow.
So across those fields, I had the opportunity to work to take global roles, right? So as I grew up through the industry and grew up in the HR world, so I took some higher level positions. So being able to support different countries,
Wow.
I
Okay.
supported countries like China, Malaysia, India, Africa, Europe, Mexico, Puerto Rico, and Canada, and just really understanding different facets of people and facets of HR and business. And I also studied in my master's degree, I studied international business in Italy. So that helped frame like what I really wanted to do. And, working in corporate and going through HR, I was often told, you're not the average HR person. And I was like, what do you mean? HR is HR. Like, what do you mean? It's just having a compassion for people and being passionate about what I do. So, and I found that in HR roles, it wasn't like that. It was just black and white. The rules are the rules, and there are
Mm.
no exceptions. But there has got to be an exception to everything that we do.
Mm-hmm.
And I find myself on the outskirts of HR
Okay.
being the go-between, obviously, between management and the people, right? But there is a piece that was missing, that HR wasn't truly valued like I think it should be. And business owners, leaders, well, at that time, leaders didn't really understand that having HR at the planning table would make life a lot easier. For example, we were working on a planning piece in the manufacturing world, and we needed to hire 100 employees. So the plans were already made, and then I was brought into the room to say, hey, Nicole, you and your team, you guys are going to need to hire 100 people. And I'm like, whoa, wait, what? I was like, well, how did this happen? When did this happen? Oh, we've been in the planning process for a year. Now we're there. Now we need the people, and I need you to have your team execute. I said, okay, well, what's the timeline? Oh, we need those people in 4 months. And I was like, well, that can happen. And just the disconnection between the business operation and the people side of things, it was never meshing and connecting. So as I started to experience more situations like that, I said, HR and business is the same. There's no separation, and HR is not the villain. We're not the people that fire people. We're not the people to write you up. We're not the people to force you into performance evaluations. We're the people to smooth things out, to make it a smooth transition, right?
It has a negative connotation to it
Oh my God,
sometimes
yeah.
because I'm gonna tell mom. Like
Exactly.
mom was HR basically.
Exactly. And that's really what it felt like, but I had a different view
Mm-hmm.
of HR. I wanted HR to be the partner,
Mm-hmm.
right? Not the mom or the dad, but
Right.
like we're siblings. We
Mm-hmm.
we all have a piece of this puzzle to make it work smoothly.
Mm-hmm.
And the more I spent in corporate and the higher ranking positions that I received, it didn't change. And HR was still the villain. So in the past, like towards the end of my career, I said, something needs to be done differently. And I wasn't sure what that was, but I've always wanted to have my own business. And 14 years ago, I thought I was going to do my own business, which is where the name Strategic HR Development came from. It was 14 years ago. But, and as I was talking to other people about it and saying I was excited and saying I wanted to do this,
Mm-hmm.
have my own HR consulting firm, most people said, you're not going to make any money doing that. No one likes HR. So I didn't.
Interesting.
I kept going through the process and growing, through the ranks in corporate. And then I would say the last 5 years, I said, I need to make this dream really come true. And I didn't know how I was going to do it. So I put it on hold for a little bit. And then the last 2 years of my career, I said, no, I'm doing it. And I literally made a decision on September 28th at 2 p.m. I had a
Okay.
team meeting with my team, and I said, I can't do this anymore. I disconnected the call, and I called my boss the next day and said, I won't be back.
That's when you left the company
That's when I
and
left the company.
started your journey.
That was the closing of the door, and I literally built the company in 30 days
Wow.
because I wanted it that bad. And I knew that I'm not the personality that could work this job and then try to run the business. I'm all in. If I didn't believe in myself and didn't believe that the risk was worth it, then stay in the career. I was
Mm-hmm.
making great money, but in doing so, I had to make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
And if this is what I wanted to do, if I wanted to leave a legacy for my family and be there for my youngest child, I would literally have to jump in cold turkey.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I did.
Earlier, you mentioned being a female HR rep in a male-dominated world.
Yeah.
Can you give me examples of a difficult situation that made you realize that you're a small fish in a big pond?
Yeah, it was right away. So I would say when I got to the director role,
Okay.
we're in the board meeting and I'm the only lady in the room. It's like, Necole, can you take the notes? I'm like, no, I cannot. Or it was like, Necole, can you plan the lunch for our board meeting? I said, is your secretary sick? So it was always
Wow.
things like that. Or Necole, can you grab the lights? We want to show the PowerPoint now. And then I knew really quickly that I was not seen as an equal in the space. And that was throughout my entire career. And it was not only being the only female, but also the only minority. And that really made a difference in
So
how
in the you were the only African American woman?
at the top level, at the corporate level,
Really?
yes. And primarily every company that I've ever worked in, yeah.
Wow.
So it was a big difference, and it just felt different. Like I felt myself shrinking, I felt devalued, and I didn't feel like I was as brilliant as everyone in the room. So most times I would walk in just quietly, and then if I had an opinion, it was like, yeah, okay, that's great. So Tom, what were you saying? My degree wasn't any less expensive or any less valuable than
Mm-hmm.
yours. And my experience in college, it's not diminished because I'm
Mm-hmm.
female, right? It takes a lot to own the room and it's exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to sit in it and you have to own it and you have to take on whatever comes your way. At the end of the day, knowing who you are, knowing you're valuable, and don't move away from that.
What was the tipping point?
It was consistently, I was paid less, doing more. I had to invite myself to the international meetings. It's like, I didn't see my name on the invite list.
Also, didn't even consider you,
No.
even though your position title.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And constantly inserting myself.
Okay.
It just became a point where it's like I'm in the wrong room. I'm in the wrong space. So, and leaving that job and going to the last job that I had, it was more female dominated, but still I was the only minority. And still it was the same in a sense, not necessarily being the only woman, but just not really sure if there was a space and the place for you. Not that they overtalked me or anything like that.
Right.
It was great. I mean, it was a great opportunity, a great company, but I still felt small.
Mm-hmm.
So it was either you're going to stay in the space or you're going to create your own. I wanted to create a space where I can feel my value and sit in my purpose and create a space where others can come and do that with me and for me.
2 years since you've opened doors.
Opening my own business is the most rejuvenating thing I could have ever done. Is it scary? Yes, absolutely. But is it worth it? Absolutely. And you ask yourself, where do you find your people? Where do you find, your clients and the business owners? And I would say boots to the ground.
Let's go, right?
Yeah, let's go.
What does this moment mean to you now?
It means everything. It it allows me to be present and for my youngest child. My daughter was ill.
Okay.
She started having seizures out of nowhere 2 years ago.
Okay.
And going back and forth to doctor's appointments, it was just overwhelming. And having a demanding job, they didn't really understand why I needed to be off or needed to be present at home versus in a job.
Like they didn't understand or they didn't want to understand?
Maybe he didn't want to because business calls, right? But in doing so, now being in my business, I don't have to answer to anyone. If I needed to take off to be with her, to be at a game, to be at a doctor's appointment, or just to be, I can do that.
Do you think that's what young Necole would call success? Is that what success you thought would look like?
If I had to answer for young Necole, I would say yes, because at that point, I don't think she understood what success looked like. I think just being a businesswoman was success for her. But for me, today, at my present self, success is being able to be present, to know your value, and to stand in your position, regardless to what that looks like. Everyone has a different position in life and different role, but being able to be true to who I am and have integrity and lead through my experiences and my own voice without having to follow suit to someone else.
Do you feel fulfilled or do you feel like I am just getting started?
I would say fulfillment would be the first day I said I opened my business. I felt full and I felt excited and the world was lifted off of my shoulders. But as I take this journey, I'm really just getting started and the the world is my pearl, right? And it's just slow and steady.
Slow and steady.
Yeah.
If there's somebody that is willing to start, say, in the business world as well, what kind of advice would you give that person?
First, know what you want and know how to get it. And then, map it out. What does that look like for you? And most importantly, start with the end in mind. Fast forward at the end of your business journey. What do you want that to look like? And then take a step back and then build from there. There is an African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, have a team. Take a team with you.
Oh,
And that's the important piece. We forget as business owners, we forget that we need people to journey this thing with us and to help us through different phases. Get someone to help you get there because getting there fast is not always the right answer.
What is the best advice that you've received besides the slow and steady?
Show up authentically myself.
Okay, that is. Just be yourself.
Being myself has gotten me everything that I have. Even through my clients that I have today, they connect to me, not my services, because you can find services anywhere. But when you find someone that's compassionate and has a true heart for what they do and a true heart to help you get to where you want to go, that's the difference. That's the differentiator.
If your 8-year-old Necole were to step in the room, what kind of a message would you relay to her?
I don't know that I would relay a message to her, but I would definitely embrace her and tell her thank you. Thank you for sticking with me. Thank you for being that burning desire inside me that never allowed me to fail you. Thank you for allowing me to take your dream to the next level to create legacy.
Wow, Necole, that is
Yeah.
That is deep on another level. I must say, that is. Okay.
Yeah.
Where can people find you? And, social, do you have any social medias, websites?
So I have a website. It's www.strategichrdevelopment.com. I am on Facebook as Necole Matlock, Necole.
Okay.
And I'm on LinkedIn as well. And I also have a Instagram page.
Well, I would like to close the show with these remarks. You're a very well spoken individual.
Thank you.
And I'm really glad that we finally had the chance to sit down and chat for a minute.
Absolutely.
It's definitely a story worth sharing. That's all I'm going to say.
Thank you so much. I appreciate and I'm honored that you would have me on your show.
If Nicole's story inspired you, make sure that share it with somebody to inspire their day as well. Nicole, thank you for coming on again.
Absolutely.
It was a pleasure having you.
Same.
And for everybody else, I will see you in the next episode.